are oppressed. We are exploited. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
How great I am.
If you're some man, what the rock
You want first place, come play with me. You want second place, go somewhere else.
Let us sing forever. Let us play forever.
Wake your ass up. Awaken the beast inside.
What's good? We're back with another episode. Mo, what are you saying?
I'm good, Osama. What are you saying today?
I'm blessed, bro. So, guys, we have an amazing guest. If you watch the show Ramy, we have one of the characters. His name is Merheje. Bro, what's good? Juno award-winning comedian. I'm so glad to have this guy, one of my favorite characters in this show. And what's up, bro? What are you saying?
Oh, thank you, man, for having both of you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
Before we start, you want to let our fans know where they can follow you and where they can see on social media?
Yes, like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, it's at Dave Merheje, so it's Merheje. And then TikTok, I think. Yeah, TikTok as well. They're all the same handle.
The first thing I want to know regarding you is you're a comedian. So obviously when people see you on the street, they might see you from the show. They might think that you're just an actor on the
Yeah.
show. Do you have to get to the point where you have to tell people like, hey, I do comedy as well? Or it's like one of those things like, I appreciate it. Thank you for noticing me. And you just take it as it is.
I take it as it is. Like if someone's like, hey, I seen you on the show, I was like, oh, thank you, man. But sometimes, if I was opening, like if I'll open for Ramy Youssef or Mo Amer, sometimes I'll be at the show walking around and they'll be like, oh, you're here to see the show. And I was like, no, I'm doing stand up. And they're like, that's always fun. Actually. I like that more than them not knowing I'm a comedian, because that like interaction is kind of hilarious to me.
Regarding comedy in itself, the fact that you have a comedy special is important. It's actually special. One thing I want to know is that like when it comes to comedy, it's different in hip hop. Like I don't know why in hip hop there's such a division between like the new class and the old class. Like if you're a new act, you do not want to listen to the past. You don't respect the elders. It's like screw the pioneers. But if you're a comedian and you want to become good at the craft, you have to study those who came before. So obviously you have to know where it originated from. You have to study people like Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, Richard Pryor. You have to know how it like started as far as the foundation, where obviously you guys as new acts really lead it to the next place and stuff. What's the importance of studying the craft of comedy if you want to be a new stand-up comedian?
I mean, I can only, truly speak for myself, obviously, but I mean, it's super important. I mean, there's comics, obviously, that, that don't know the past or don't pay attention to it, and that's to each his own. But I mean, for me, I kind of came up watching Richard Pryor, Carlin, Eddie Murphy, so that's how my introduction was to stand up. Honestly, it was mostly Richard Pryor. So I studied it because one, I was a big fan, still am a big fan, and I was just so intrigued by his persona on stage and his act and his stories, his vulnerability. So I honestly like molded my vulnerabilities personally from Richard Pryor, like how he did it and left everything up there. And I was just like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to specifically be like that.
Do you feel like because you're from like Toronto and Canada that there's almost like a chip on your shoulder that you have to like outshine the American? Because obviously in America, like, you guys have like they have Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, and always other big comedians. Obviously Canada, like you have Jim Carrey, obviously Russell Peters, and like Mike Myers. But do you feel like in your head, like I was like all these other comedians, there's almost like I don't want to say a chip, but more so that you want to kick their ass in terms of like Toronto's also like the new city for comics to come out and like we can also like shine.
I mean, I love. I've lived in Toronto before I moved to America in 2016 for 14 years. But I'm from Windsor, Ontario originally. But I claim, like, I mean, both like Windsor is my home, obviously, but Toronto I feel is my second home because I did 90% of my stand up was in this city, and I think for me it's important. I mean, to represent just not only Toronto but Canada. So I'm very vocal about, I'm from Canada, and I think our talent here is just as good, if not better, than American. So I don't necessarily think it's a chip, but it is a drive where I was like, oh, I want to show that this city, specifically Toronto, produces stand-up comics. So yeah, is it more of a drive as opposed to a chip, I guess.
And as far as your background, can you explain to the audience like what's your background?
My parents are from Lebanon. We're Christian. We were born. I mean, I was my whole like my parents were born in Lebanon and they moved to Windsor, and then me and my siblings were born there. So
And
that's
obviously, like as you know, Osama, like being Arab and the community and stuff, I don't think a comedian is one of those things that Arab parents want for the children. So explain that whole thing. Explain growing up, like what your parents wanted for you, and obviously versus you finding your own way as far as venturing and becoming a comedian.
I mean, my I was very lucky that my mom, I remember when I was in 18 or some, she was like, "Yeah, I support you doing stand-up comedy. I just want you to get me an education. If you can get an education in college," which I did. But she, from day one, was always supporting and not like misguiding me out of it. And then my dad, honestly, just was never really. He just was like, "You're doing stand-up. That's cool," and he'd come to shows. Like there was no like crazy kickback or a push forward. Do you know what I mean? He was just kind of like, "Oh, that's what you want to do, then that's what's up." And then he,
Do you think having your parents' support helped you a lot more within you being a comedian? Because obviously, like even like as you most said, Mo, that Middle Eastern, like me myself, like sometimes when you say, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do this," obviously culturally and the norm of like you saying you want to be a comedian or like an entrepreneur, they're like, "Oh, shoot, what is this?" And then like what your family is gonna say. So, did you feel like that helped you a lot?
huge. I have like, obviously I have like Middle Eastern friends doing comedy and acting, and they'll tell me stories, and I've been blessed not to have that where they have to hide it. They have to like have a constant tug and war back and forth, and to prove like there's not that support. That support is so huge, especially in an industry that's kind of can be can be rough. Obviously, it can be like discouraging. Not only like so if you're getting discouragement, that's not even a word I think, but from the industry, then your parents are like, "Yo, this is trash. What are you doing?" You're not, you have no help basically.
That's so true.
So yeah, I feel very blessed to be honest with you.
Is there a roadmap as far as making it? Because everyone knows that if you're a stand-up comedy, you have to obviously perform in the clubs. You gotta
Yeah.
create a routine. You gotta get better. You gotta craft the work. Obviously, there's networking. Back in the days, the goal was to obviously get a comedy special, whether it's through HBO
Yep.
or a certain network, Comedy Central, and then you get a TV show or maybe a movie deal, and then boom. Now with social media, everything's kind of changed as far as the roadmap for comedians. So do you still follow the old school way, or are you trying to adapt to this new school? Like I don't know, anything kind of works, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I don't know if I'm really adapting the new way. Like, there is now way more avenues, as you know. Like, you can use TikTok, you can use Instagram, you can make videos, which is such a blessing for any performer to have multiple avenues, except for just one kind of way. But I mean, for myself, I always wanted to do stand up and act. I mean, like I was the path that I wanted to go down, and like I'm trying to adapt to newer, but I mean, I'm not good with TikTok. I'm not the best with making videos, so I'm just praying to God that I could just stick to I guess, the old school way of getting to what I want to get at. So that's how I personally look at it.
How did you stay motivated during all the times where, for example, people might be like crapping on you, or even when things were not working out your way? Like, what did you tell yourself to remind yourself, like, "Yo, I got this"? Because to me, like, obviously, seeing your show, Ramy, seeing your character, like, again, my favorite character in the show, and also seeing your comic, like, how you're so relatable in a sense. Like, how did you remind yourself, like, "Yo, I can still do this. I don't need your bum ass opinions to tell me I can't."
I mean, I mean, there's a sense of delusion. I had a sense of delusion. I think you need a little bit of that. I also was like, what else am I gonna do? In my heart, I'm like, nothing else interests me. And not that there's nothing else interests me to this level of what I'm trying to do. So I think that those were key motivators. But there was times where I did just get hella sad as I was doing it. Like I was super depressed. I felt like shit. I felt like giving up. But then more than one time. Even times when I was doing well, there was like doubt. I think for me personally, it's unique for each person, obviously. But for me, I struggle with that even when it is good. So it's kind of just pushing forward and talking to yourself. But I see a therapist for the last 4 years, so that helps huge to give you the tools to keep your mind healthy.
When it comes to freedom of expression, it seems like comedy is the last art form where it's an art trying to battle against society, trying to obviously legitimize it as far as not being able to say what you want to say. And obviously, we saw Dave Chappelle with the whole backlash regarding his special, The Closure. What do
Yeah.
you feel as far as people and society as a whole trying to ostracize comedy and trying to limit its role as far as what you can say and how you can say it? How do you feel as far as being a comedian?
I mean, I don't. I think if the joke has good intention and it's not harmful. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're listening to it and it's like almost I don't think it's the same, but you know how sometimes people are sarcastic and they're being assholes, and then they look at you like, what? I'm just being sarcastic, and you're like, no, I know what the fuck you just said to me. I was like, you making me? No, I'm like, you're just hiding behind whatever this is. There's an intention. So I think if harmful, I don't agree with that. I don't think you should try to like use humor to harm anyone. But I mean, if you're getting the joke off and you're expressing it, I think, and when it's not that, I mean, I don't think we should hold anyone back in a sense from saying what they want to say. I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't really have any, I guess, edgy material or crazy things I talk. I just talk about my family and my experiences. So I never really like, I seldomly have any kickback because it's not really edgy. So, but I see it happening, and yeah, again, if it's harmful, then I don't think that is the proper way to go.
Honestly, I just feel like comedy for me is a great way to express how you feel. It's also like, for example, like there's one part in the show, Ramy, that would made me laugh. You guys were in with Steve and like Ramy and Mo in a strip club, I think, and then you were saying that I helped these girls go through college. I just died laughing. And I remember I showed one of my friends. He's like, "Bro, I'm like, man, get out of here! It's a joke.
Yeah,
It's a joke." I
yeah,
just
yeah,
started dying because my head like you turn this negative into a positive somehow, and I didn't see it coming. So I feel like sometimes people are either stupid because they don't understand the context of the joke, and they just see it at face value. And I'm like, if you break it down, the joke is actually really funny. So I think to your point, I think
yeah.
comedians are the news of today. Like you hear the truth for their opinions. So do you feel like because you have the freedom of expression that you guys are able to say certain things that, for example, the news outlets can't say, or even the other celebrities can't say?
Probably. I mean, comedy on stage gives you a lot of freedom but I mean, also sometimes when people get offended, it might be also personal. Yeah, it might be like has nothing to do with the comedian or the joke. You never know what's going on in their lives, and I think as humans, you naturally do that even in conversation. If we're just out hanging out and I'm feeling sideways about something, you say something that has nothing to do with what I'm just angry, so I'm just back at you like, and it may not even be about what we were talking about. And I think with stand-ups, you know, with like news, I don't know. I don't know if what you can say and what you can't, but with comedy clubs and being live, I think that you do have way more freedom to really speak what's on your mind.
What's your favorite aspect of comedy? Because when it comes to comedian, it's pretty amazing how they're able to create material. Like some comedians, obviously, it's through writing, and some is through conversation, and obviously another is through storytelling based on their personal stories. And a lot of them are able to do like an amalgamation, all three. What is your
Yeah.
method when it comes to creating new material while you're on the road?
I mean, originally it started off just I would write everything on paper, obviously, like a long time ago. But now it's like, I'll come up with an idea, I'll jot the note down on my phone or write it down, and then I'll just take that idea and try to like write it on stage, basically, and then do that multiple times until I feel like it's got a punch, it's got a setup and a punch, and it works. So it's just really like being on stage as much as I can to work that out.
You recently said in an interview, I forgot that in a podcast that Canadian music is a huge inspiration for you, like Toronto artists.
Oh,
So like
100%. 100. I mean,
music in
music in
general. So like who are
general.
the like
Right.
are there
Yeah.
certain musicians that you can look at, like that you look at in terms of inspiration for your like maybe not your comedy, but like in terms of like aspiring to be at that certain level, or because you do look up to them?
100%. I think, for me, So Far Gone, the mixtape was, that was to me was like amazing, like in a sense that it was inspiring, and I kind of just was like, so it was the excitement that it that it brought. You know, even the Weekend's House of Food, and then they were from Toronto on top of that. When I was living here, were two things that were inspiring, like art wise, where I was like, oh, I want to do something that's that exciting. You know what I'm saying? That I felt. So I think those two specifically, those albums, and then just like, yeah, like you watching like, you know, artists like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole is like, so, you know, just the way they operate, everything from their album covers to the way they present their music is something that is like an influence for sure for myself.
When it comes to comedy, once again, in the beginning, obviously going to pull from your influences, right?
Yeah.
And you said that you're a big Richard Pryor friend, and obviously he's a legend within itself for his vulnerability, uh, his characters, and the way he was revolutionary, right? When you started out comedy, how long did it take before you actually developed your own voice, your own style? Like in the
Oh,
beginning, were you pulling from some of your biggest
100%.
influences? Like how did it work in the beginning?
100%. I was pulling from a lot of influences for sure. And I think about 8 to 10 years to find my voice. I would say my first voice. I don't like in a sense that you know I found my voice, but then I had to like really keep working to really come as close as I could to what I feel I sound like. So it was about 8 to 10 years.
Do you remember the joke that I guess made you like that one joke that I guess like made you blow up a bit? Like that one joke that you said is like, oh, this is the joke that's gonna take my career. Because every comedian or every artist has that one song, one joke, and then through that they build off their career through that.
I mean, for me, it's like a lot of times people couldn't tell what my jokes were because it was the pacing and the energy. So people really never, you know, they would tell me what jokes they like, but it was more of like my energy was my ranting, I guess. So I would say what really helped me was Just for Laughs 2011, the homegrown competition. I remember winning that, and I think that helped me get other stuff. I think it was just the 7 minute set itself might have put me in people's eyes and helped me break through in Canada. I would say yeah.
Can you speak about Just for Laughs? Because a lot of people don't know that Just for Laugh is really instrumental for comedies, for comedians get breaking out. And as far as the festival that happens every year, it's a real good way to obviously get deals, to meet new agents, and really get your name out there. What did it mean for you just to be on that stage?
I mean, growing up, you know, it was in our households. You know, like you'd be watching, you know, going through TV and watching, and it would come on those 7 minute sets on you'd see. Like I remember seeing, you know, what I saw Tim Steves is wonderful um, comedian who was a writer who wrote on the Rick Mercer report for many years, and I remember seeing his set, and I'm like, oh man, this shit's cool. I want to do something like that. So then getting there the first time, it's super excited. Just even the train ride, I remember from Toronto to Montreal, and then just being around all the comedians that you don't normally see, and then the energy of the city and the festival, really all that together just makes it something very special. And then, like you said, you can meet agents, you can meet writers, you can get projects from there. So it's really something that is special, I think, to everyone else to comedians, but I mean extra special for us as Canadians. It started here. Yeah.
On your show, Remy, you work with a lot of unique like individuals. Do you feel like any of your co-stars have given you some amazing advice that you like that stuck with you and resonated with you, and that helped you become a better like comedian or even a better actor in that sense?
100%. I mean, specifically, Ramy Youssef is like just his directing as a director and a friend has helped me become 100% better actor, like way better. Just the ability to like he knows me, and he just his way of guiding me through the seasons has made me way better. I mean, also as a stand up as well, because he's a brilliant stand up. Mo Amer as well. You know, Mo Amer's energy, his charisma, the way he just kind of maneuvers, his confidence. You can't. It helps out. Steve Way as well, super funny. His timing on the show and the way he acts is just it's he's so funny on the show. He's just natural. It comes off super natural. I mean, the whole cast. TM, the mom, she directed the episode I did this year, and she made me 100% the episode that was based on my character, or my episode for the character. Sorry, she helped me become a way better actor. Her guidance throughout, and watching everyone else, honestly, like every person, May, the father on the show, or like everybody was great. And then when Mahershala was on the show, that was like a crazy experience because you're learning from one of the best.
And that's a beautiful thing because you see it on the show. And obviously, like most TV shows, co-stars might not get along, but either way, you can't tell because they're acting. But the fact that you, Ramy, and Mo are on stage doing live comedy and everything, all that stuff, and the fact that you do a show together, the chemistry, you could tell it's like it's so enhancing. Speak about that. Like, what makes the chemistry so strong with you guys?
I mean, I've known Ramy for like over 10 years. I met him before the show. I'm friends with him. You know what I mean? Mo, I met like 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. Steve, I met on the show, but I mean, it was immediate. It was all love. I think it is that thing of like, that's how we speak to each other, not how like we have this bond off camera that when you go to camera, it's like you just feel so familiar and comfortable with each person. And then you're able to, do you know what I mean? You're able to like really be your, not be your, be yourself. You just feel comfortable, and you're able to like, you want to work hard and you want to really like make them laugh, and everyone's inspiring each other. I think. I mean, I'm inspired by each of them.
Yeah, I can personally see in the show like you, Ramy, and Mo. Um, it almost sometimes seems like nothing is scripted. It's like you guys just being you. Like yeah, like certain scenes like I would watch. I'm just like to me they're just funny. It's because a lot of like shows when they I guess try to portray Middle Eastern I guess people they go way too much. I guess because you guys understand it, you guys know which ones to portray and how to make it funny, how to add on. It just makes it much more realistic and much more funny to add on. Like to me, I think that's what like I got like my friend got me onto the show. He's like, you should go watch it like about 2 years ago, and I'm glad I did because it's like when I just go watch the show, it's like I want to rewatch it again because sometimes you miss certain like bites, and you have to understand. I was like, oh wait, what did I miss? You got to go back and watch the episode again to see what you missed out on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it's not like it's a very layered show, right? There's stuff you're gonna miss even when I've watched it multiple times. You're like, oh, that part. I mean, that's what makes the show so dope, that there is these multiple layers, and that's why, for me personally, I think from shows I watch, like Atlanta. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's one of my you can watch it a bunch of times because you're gonna miss it because it's how layered it is, and that comes to the writing. That's a testament, I feel, to the writing. There's just such a good writing team for Ramy for the last 3 years, I feel.
It's actually a cool aspect because when I think about it, like you said, like most shows where the head runner and the main actor is a comedian, usually the writing is always layered because the writing team obviously understands, and the plus that they'll have a staff and co-stars, they're also comedians as well. Speaking
Yeah.
about how like you're able to bring your comedic timing and presence into a show where obviously actors are just known for acting, but with comedians, they're able to bring another element, another light that makes the show more fun, more unique, and more like holistic.
Um, I guess like, yeah, stand up for sure helps out especially if it's a comedic role. It helps out big time because you do have to learn, obviously you guys know like the timing, and you learn it for over, if the timing's off, that joke's gonna it's gonna bomb. So then like all that experience and over the years, especially 14 plus years, it's just like you learn that timing. And so if you're doing dialogue, you can just feel it out and you can hit it. You know what I'm saying? So it's really, really key, I think. I think they go hand in hand, like in a sense that learning how to act has helped my stand up, and stand up has helped the acting.
Speaking of your stand up, how do you deal with heckler? Because obviously, like what the biggest thing is, hecklers are always going to say some dumb shit because they think they're funny. So when that comes across to you, like how do you like shut them down?
I mean, each case is different, but I mean, when you're younger, I guess in stand up, not in age, you're just kind of like react in an angry way, maybe sometimes. It's so quick. It's like, and you might not even, the audience doesn't hear what the person said, and you're just being like, fuck you or whatever. You're just going off. You say some wild shit. Everyone's like, you made the show awkward. Everyone's like, why'd you attack that guy's mom? Like, she wasn't even here. Like, that kind of very, and I think, over time in practice, you just start to like handle it in a how do I say, like, in a way where you're gonna get the crowd on your side, and you're also, it's more of control. I think it's just more control. Like, I remember I'd watched this comic in Detroit called Downtown Tony Brown when I lived in Windsor, and I'd cross over, and he would always, if somebody heckled him, he would repeat what they said. He goes, "What'd you say?" And then he'd repeat it. The audience heard it, and then he would just
Like,
go at
can you see it?
the audience, like, "Oh yeah, that guy was being mean to the comedian per se." So I think there's certain ways you can handle it. At first, you just don't know. You're just angry, which I was. I used to snap all the time and just be like, go off, and then people be like, "Holy shit!" Now I try to do it in a way where I have more control.
His name is Downtown Tony Brown.
Yeah, he was one of. He was. You can look him up too. He did Star Search. He was on Bad Boys of Comedy, and he's really. I think he was like. I mean, he crushed for like all the time. There was not like there was such ease and comfortability with this man's act. Like, it's really something to watch. It looked fearless.
That's amazing.
So, and he was always in the pocket. He's like, I look him up, Downtown Tony Brown.
When you're not acting, not doing comedy, what does like Dave do to relax, be nonchalant? Like what like do you watch sports? Do you chill with your friends? Like what do you do to stay away from the media and like, all the lights when you want to cool off?
I mean, I used to, I still do, but a lot of rap battles. I love rap battles.
URL.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, you were on King of the Dot when they were doing it. And then there's another league called Rare Breed. I think
Yeah,
it's
Rare
out of
Breed.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's great. And then just now, if I'm in a specific city, walking, it really is super relaxing for me. So like 45 minutes to 2 hours of walking, just to kind of like clear my head out and stuff. But I mean, and hang with, like, you just hang with. It's like you hang with friends that are doing comedy, and you're creating. Not you're creating, but you mean you're just chasing the laugh again. There's nothing more satisfying than hanging out with like a group of comedians for me personally, and then just us creating, having those are like our memories. You know what I'm saying? It's like it feels like such a blessing to have that. Whereas, like, not that there's nothing wrong with sitting, like, how you go to someone's house and they're just sitting around and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" Like, it's not that it's boring. It's just like, and then I look at my, like, hanging out with comedians at a diner, and it's just so wild for 2 hours. Like, you build memories and stories that can last for like years, right? I'm not saying I don't want to cut up on normal people's lives, but it's kind of hella boring
I
sometimes.
I quickly want to play a game. So pretty much what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw out four comedians and their
Yeah,
specials, like their well-known specials, and I want you to pick one of them, and I want you to give the answer why. So the
yeah,
first comedian I want to start with is Richard Pryor. So to me, like his two best specials is obviously Live on the Sunset Strip, legendary, and the other one I would say is Here and Now. Have you watched both of them?
yeah.
So between those two, which one would you pick and why?
Is Here and Now the one where he's wearing a purple, not a purple suit? You know what I mean?
It's kind of like blue, like purplish, and he has like a red T-shirt inside.
Yeah, I think that one, to me, I don't remember all the jokes specifically, but I think I enjoyed more. The other one was when he lit himself on fire,
The
right?
red.
Yeah, that was amazing too, especially that story about, is it Jim Brown coming over, and he's talking to the pipe. He goes, "What's this?" Yeah, and I think that the other one, I Here and Now, I think I enjoyed more, I believe, because I think it's just, to me, it was not funnier. I just was really into it more from what I can remember, because I saw that first, I believe, and then so I was like, to me, that was like a classic.
And the next person, Eddie Murphy. And obviously, the two everyone talks about is Delirious and Raw. And I want to know what your take is
Delirious.
because it kind of
Yeah,
depends. It kind of shows what kind of comedian you are, depending on what your answer is.
Delirious to me was like his breakout, I guess. And he showed so much difference. Like, he can imitate people, he can tell stories. Like, there was so much to it. Not that, and he was doing that in Raw as well. I just feel like Delirious hit different. That's all I can say. It just kind of hit, every aspect of it hit different, from the set, from his outfit, like everything to me was just, it hit different.
And the next comedian is Chris Rock. You have
Yeah.
Bring the Pain, and Bigger and Blacker. Which one would you pick?
Wait, which one? What? I can't bring the pain. What joke? Is there a specific joke from
Yeah,
there?
that was the black people versus the N-word debate.
And then what's the second special? What was the? What
Bigger
was
and
the?
Blacker was the third one. That's what was talking about bullets, as far as like how you could pay 5,000 for bullets to shoot someone.
Oh yeah. I think the first one was like his first special or his second special
Second, yeah,
ever, or
that was
no?
the Bring the Pain was the second one.
I think he had this like energy for that. Not he had the same. He had like high energy in the last one that you said. But I mean, that one I remember watching it being like, what is this? Like it was just something. So it was unique. And I think I'd picked. I remember that one I picked more. But the bullet joke is amazing.
Yeah, incredible,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. So I would pick the first one because it just felt like it's like almost like you were watching somebody's mixtape, like Young Jeezy's when you listen to like
Yeah,
Young
yeah, yeah,
Jeezy's
yeah.
first, what's happening? Like, just that you heard like walking through my Air Forces, you're like that beat comes on and you're like, I don't know, this is amazing.
And also the confidence, like as he's coming out to the stage, you see all the old
Yeah,
specials, like it's bold, right?
yeah,
Um, I guess, and the last comedian will be Dave Chappelle. Would you pick
yeah.
between Killing Me Softly or The Closer?
Killing Me Softly, man. Killing Me Softly is like my boy had that on a CD, I think, and showed us on a CD, like a burnt CD, and we watched that and we were like, what are we watching? This is fucking crazy. It's the best. It's like one of the best specials ever, hands down, man. Hands down.
Yeah, it's
That's that.
literally it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. There's no everything about that was just insane. So I picked that.
And now obviously you have your own special. I love you, Habibi. When it was time to make your special, were you thinking about obviously this is it? I prepared my whole life for this moment. I want to do the best I can, but did you think about comparing to the grades, or it's like, you know what, I don't want to put any pressure on myself. Let me just make the best special I can make, and then from there I'll grow.
I mean, it's funny because I did it in 2016. I wanted to record something. Like, I was trying to pitch myself to do specials anywhere, like a half hour special in America. And then nothing happened. So I created with two other people, Millen and Morgan. One is my agent, and the other person is a production company, Macaw Productions out of Toronto. So we put together a special um, at the Drake Hotel. We did two shows, 2016. That was that for me was like I just wanted to go up and be myself. Like there was no like real rules because it wasn't with a network. We were gonna sell it after, and then I think that was the best time I've ever had doing a special in a sense because there was no rules. It's like this was our thing we created. And then I think 2018, I got to do a half hour Netflix thing for Comedians of the World. And that one I was just super excited. And it's just 30 minutes of energy where I mean, I was so jacked. I mean, it looked like I was on cocaine. And then with this special, the first time I was able to do a special with a network in Canada, so it was very special to me. But to be honest with you, at first I was like, how am I going to get an hour? I was like, I don't think I have an hour. So that's the truth. I was like, I don't know if I have an hour right now. So I just thought about what if, because I was influenced by Gerard Carmichael's home videos. I don't know if you ever see that where he speaks to
Yeah, yeah,
his
yeah,
family. And I saw I can't remember, I think it was Jenny Slate, maybe someone else, or Jermaine Fowler. They both had something to do with their families and their specials. So I was like, what if I just had my family in the special where they get interviewed and they get to comment on the jokes. Like they get to have their feedback. And to me was like like you watch specials and I think I just wanted to from watching other people do their specials. I just wanted to be as creative and unique to myself. Like you know what I mean? Like I just wanted to do something different because and make it kind of stand out, but also be inspired by other specials.
Do you, like, as a comedian, obviously, as an actor, do you feel like a lot of people try to get you to conform to their societal values, and you're like f that, bun that shit. I want to do it my way because I feel a lot of people try to like the only way you're gonna succeed is if you follow these standards. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean that happens when you start too, or they people try to do something that works. So if it's different, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like everyone's gonna have opinions, obviously. As you continue to do this, everyone, it doesn't really stop. Everyone will have their opinion and their influence and what they believe is the right thing for you. When it's you that has to know what the right thing is. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've even had people like for us with our like talk show tell us that if you talk about certain stuff like you'll make it, And I'm like, man, we don't need your dumbass advice.
I mean, you take advice with I think with obviously with a grain of salt, right? Like you just listen to it, and then if there's something that is interesting to you and works for you, then go with it. But if it's not, it just kind of just let it go.
I guess my second question to you is like, what's your advice to people who are coming from ethnic backgrounds, like whether it's Middle East or South Asian or even like African or Asian, who are trying to like not take that like normal route of becoming an engineer or doctor, and they're trying to become something else on that like radar. What would you tell them like if everybody's going against them? Obviously the biggest thing is family is like they're not going to be as supportive. What would you tell them?
I mean, if this is something you truly love and you have such love for it, and you want it to be, because it's really your life, and you only get one shot at this, as they say. So I would just really push. Again, this is your life, your career, your passion, and if you love it that much, you should do it. You shouldn't be disrespectful to the people that disagree. But I mean, this is your ultimate life. You know what I'm saying? This is You're brought into this world with, obviously your family is there to take care of you and guide you. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is you. And I also really, really express what you want to express. If you want to talk about certain things, your culture, and do it. Don't feel it's wrong. Don't feel like I can't do this. No one wants to hear this my culture. Really, really, really dive into it and express whatever you want to express.
I have like one more last question from myself, and my question is: who is your on your Mount Rushmore for like top comedians? Like, who are your top four comedians that like you would put on your Mount Rushmore?
Um, Obviously Richard Pryor. I'd put Bill Burr, Sebastian Maniscalco. I put my homie Nathan McIntosh. Shit, it's tough. I would. I didn't even put like. I Yeah. I put. I Yeah. You got me on this. Is a tough one. Hold on. Mike Epps, Kevin Hart, and Ramy. I would put like all. I know there's not. You know what I mean? It's just too hard, bro. I mean, if we could extend the Mount Rushmore, but yeah, those are the people that I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy.
That's actually good. He said Mike Epps. A lot of people don't give him his proper due. He's been doing it a
Yeah, I
lot.
was talking about Mike Epps yesterday and today about like the joke when there's a clip of him making fun of Steph Curry. It's hilarious. He just
Oh, I saw that video. How he runs and acts like a child.
with his mouth guard out, and then also his joke about how he said James Brown when he would get pulled over by the police, he looked like a Thundercat.
That's jokes.
One thing I want to ask you, because it's actually amazing how you're here. I don't know if you know this, Osama, but in comedy, there's kind of like there's a lot of unwritten rules. But one of the unwritten rules is that fact that like if you're a stand-up comedian, whether beginning or you're well seasoned, let's say you have a show, you have a host, you have the opener, you have a person that goes second, you have the headliner. Let's say for
Yeah.
some random reason, one of the goats is coming in. Let's say it's Jerry Seinfeld, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock. If they happen to come in unannounced, they get to close that show. And not only do they get to close, they get to be on for as long as they want. And whether you're like the opener or the person going second, you have no say so. Have you ever experienced that, getting bumped by one of the goats, or you saw it in person? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I've seen it in person. I don't know if I necessarily. I've been bumped as well, but I mean, I don't think I was. I don't think I was headlining the show. I think I might have just been bumped or pushed out of the lineup later. I mean, that's you have to respect. You have to respect, bro. Like you have to respect that they put in the work and they're at a certain level and stature. I don't think. I mean, if they're disrespectful, maybe you might be like, yo. But I mean, I would let them do their time. I mean, usually I feel like from what I've heard, they're very like nice about it. They're like, hey, sorry, I went. But it's like they're the goats. Yeah, you know what I'm gonna do.
How do you deal with when people are criticizing your specials or your comedy? Like, what's your process? Obviously, like especially now with social media, you have bare people like talking trash. Like, how do you deal with that, like mentally, in terms of when you see people crapping on your product?
I mean, not well at the beginning. I mean, it's probably still not well now, but again, like I said to you guys, I see a therapist, so it helps me deal with it. But I mean, initially it always hurts because you're immediately angry because you're like, man, I'm a find these motherfuckers. And then you're like, I'm not gonna find them. I don't even know.
Dave has a 16 ready.
Yeah, it's like I sound crazy. So you just kind of like breathe, I guess, and take a day. But I mean, they're gonna come at you, man. Everybody. I just now if they comment on my Instagram post, I'll delete them. So I'll go delete it off. Yeah, I'll go because I was like, it's also like get off my page. But I mean, yeah, it. What are you gonna do? Like people will be like, oh, he's on coke, or he doesn't have any jokes. You kind of have to grow and learn. I'm still learning. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I get very angry at first, like I just told you, and then I think I calm down. But I mean, the more you do it, the more you'll just kind of learn how to not snap. I guess people are monsters. People are pieces of shit. People are. But I mean, also people are hurt. People are hurt, and then they don't know how to. They're not getting help, and then they're just maybe like attacking you. And I think a lot of people are hurt, and I think there's also this group of just pure pieces of shit of human beings. You know what I mean? And no one will help these people because they're assholes.
Honestly, I think that's like my last question for real. Is as a stand-up comedian, I think the hardest part is to captivate an audience, especially like keeping your nerves in check, ensuring that like yeah, obviously sometimes you're talking in front of like 50, 100,000, or even like more people. So you as a comedian, how do you like prepare yourself to go on stage and tell you like 'cause sometimes like speaking in front of people they might get frightened. So what do you do to like remind yourself like no matter how the joke goes bad, I'm still gonna continue going.
I mean, I've bombed still. Like I've bombed for 30 minutes straight, 7 minutes. You got to just kind of just take it how it is, and then just. I mean, again, it's practice. The more and more you practice, and the more you're just. No, I don't want to say develop. Yeah, develop tougher skin. You're just like, or just you learn how to deal with that emotion. But I think it's just practice, to be honest with you. The more you do it, the more you're like, well, I'm bombing, and then you can just learn how to go through with it.
My question to you is, how many years have you done stand-up comedy?
Oh, how many years? Uh, I think it's over 15 years now, I
15
would say.
years. So the
Like, I mean, like I started fully doing it at 24 and I'm 42 now. So I started at 19, but I was in college. So I was not really like, I was doing it in the summer. Like it wasn't really dedicated to it, to be honest with you, when I look back. But at 24, I think I moved to Toronto and I really started doing it around that age. I think a year in Michigan and Windsor, I was doing it. So around 24. So I don't know how many years that is, but it's a lot of years. I think it's past 15 years.
so let's say 15 years. So in comedy terms, you're 15 years old. The reason why I said that because I don't know if you know, Jerry Seinfeld. He had like I don't know if it was a documentary or a small video, and he asked someone like, "How many years have you done comedy?" And the person said, "I've done it for 5 years." He's like, "Well, you're 5 years old. Like you're a 5-year-old child." So based on the amount of years you've done comedy, is actually like the age span of your life, comedic terms. Do you feel that's true? As far as let's say if you did for 15 years, it's pretty much your 15-year-old child.
I think in some sense it is. I think it's like I think you just the more experience, the better you get. But I mean, sometimes people are there's these gifted comedians that could be like really dope 2 years in. Do you know what I mean? Like there's years to meet you'll like that happens sometimes, but I think majority of the times, yeah, it is like the amount of years you do it. Like 20, 30 years, you're just way more equipped and way more experienced and you have a better arsenal. You know yourself a lot better. So there is truth to that for sure.
And with that, we wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, all
Thank you
the
guys.
information you gave to us. Incredible episode. I would love to have you back on. Before you leave, please give
100%.
anyone, as far as a comedian, creator, entrepreneur, podcaster, they want to be a chemical engineer, it's like any advice as far as not giving up, keep grinding. Those lonely nights will happen, but make sure you don't give up. What would you say?
No, yeah, I would say like when I look back at sometimes I was too hard on myself and it wasn't that serious. You know what I'm saying? When you look back and it's like you put so much heaviness on a fuck up or something. And I think just don't. just be kinder to yourself in the process of where you have to get, and also have fun. Even if you're doing chemical engineering, just try to like have as much fun as you can and enjoy the process as it happens, which I kind of really didn't do all the time. I didn't enjoy the process because I had an angle, or you know what I mean? I was like too down on my luck. I'd say those three things: be kind to yourself, enjoy the process, and have fun.
You guys thought we were done? I don't think so. We still gotta wrap it up. Please follow me at Kusa300. Follow my co-host Mohammed at Mohammed.global. Make sure to follow our page at Instagram. Also, make sure to subscribe to all our platforms. We drop every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Thank you. We'll see you next week.